For this section of notes, we are going over PC, which is the sum of integers. So as a reminder, what is an integer? An integer is a whole number. It can be positive, it can be negative, it can be 0. So I'm just going to put a whole number here, just kind of shorten it, just to remind myself what it is. It's a number line over there that has a bunch of integers on it to kind of help you. Now, we're going to go over definition of sum, which should be pretty easy for most of you, but if not, sum means that you are adding. So sum means to add. All right, we are going to be adding integers with the same sign. So this means that they're both positive or they're both negative. So if they have the same sign, the answer is that sign. It's the sign of both of them. So for example, if we're adding two negatives, our answer is negative. If we're adding two positives, our answer is positive. So if I have -4 plus -6, my answer is -10. So there are some different methods that we're going to do down here, like counters and pictures, that might help you. But you're basically just combining the numbers and then choosing that sign. So then we have 7 plus 8, which is 15. -4 plus 3, that will give me -1. And then 3 plus -12 will give me -9. So when we're doing it with different signs, the answer, if you look over here, if you notice, it's the sign of the bigger number. And we're looking at like the absolute value of the bigger number, not the actual bigger number. So just between like 4 and 3, 4 is technically bigger, so we're going to have a negative answer. Between 3 and 12, just looking at the regular numbers without their signs, 12 is bigger, and because it has the negative, our answer is negative. So answer will be the sign of the bigger number. All right, now I'm going to go over a couple of different methods that might help you when doing positives and negatives that can get kind of confusing. So the first one is a chart method. So it has a plus and a minus. So I'm going to put how many I have of positive and how many I have of negative. So my 6 is my positive, so I'm going to put 6 here. And my -2 is my negative, so I'm going to put 2 here. Then you find the difference of those numbers. And if you don't know, difference means that you subtract. So the difference between these two numbers, 6 minus 2, is 4. And that's my answer. And if you notice, our bigger number was 6, which is the positive one, so that's why our answer is positive. Another way you can do this is counters or like a picture. So some people like to use like red and yellow counters, or if you don't have those, you can draw a picture. So I have 6 positives, and then I have 2 negatives. And I want to circle which ones cancel out. So a positive and negative cancel each other out. So this and this will cancel each other out, and I'm left with 4 positives left, 4 plus signs, so that means that my answer is 4. So 2 ways to get the same answer. And we're also going to have some problems that have multiple integers, and I would just take these step by step. So I'm going to start with the first part here, -13 plus 3, and I'm just going to deal with that first. So if you need to, off to the side, write 13 negatives, or you could do your little chart here. And I have 13 negatives, and I have 3 positives. The difference between these numbers, and you can see the bigger minus the smaller, 13 minus 3 is 10. But because the 13 is bigger, and it's under the negative side, it's going to be -10. So -10 plus -2. And like we learned above, when they're the same sign, you know your answer is going to be negative, so I'm just going to combine the numbers and get -12. You might also see it like this, where there's parentheses around the negatives. That doesn't change anything. It's just another way to see it. So for this one, you can start it wherever you want. You could do 5 and -6 first, or -6 and -8 first. So let's start differently than the last one, and let's do these first. So they're both negatives, so let's just combine them. 6 and 8 is 14, so I'm going to have a negative 14, and I'm going to add 5 to that. So 5 plus negative 14. And again, you could draw out 14 negatives and 5 positives and see what you get. Or again, we can use our chart. So I would have 5 positives and 14 negatives. The difference between these two numbers, 14 minus 5, is 9. And because the bigger number is negative, my answer is negative. So my answer is negative 9. All right, here is a tip that you may have or may have not noticed. Adding a negative to a positive number is basically just subtraction. So if I have 3 plus negative 8, that's the same thing as 3 minus 8. So this would give me negative 5, and this would also give me negative 5. So whichever way is easiest for you to read, you can do it that way. All right, so these are a few more to kind of try on your own. So the answer to the first one is negative 1. The answer to the next one is negative 1. And the answer to the last one is 9. So these are just ones for you to try on your own. This last one, I would take it step by step. So maybe do like this first and get an answer. Do this, get an answer. Do these, get an answer. And then whatever you get, you'll have a number plus a number plus a number plus 2. So just take it step by step there. Let me know if you have any questions.